Hi everyone, it's Tristan. So in this episode, we'll configure the main class with the new version of Easy Commands, which as you can see right here on screen, it's going to be 0.4.1. So that's the latest version, and the main class from now on won't change anymore. And also at the end of this video, we'll set up the database and we'll start making calls to the database. We'll start saving stuff inside the database basically. So let's get started. Okay, so to set up the new main class, it's pretty easy. It's way easier than before. Now there's just a couple lines of code that you need to put, and the bot is going to be started. And we'll also configure it with the latest version, as I said, which is the 0.4.1, which in this version implements especially a config class. So if I write config, for example, as you can see, we have Tristan easy commands utils, which is config. So let's just instantiate it, and I'll show you later on what it does. Yeah, now we need to throw an exception. Just write throws IO exception. So basically, what's the config class? It's just a file. Basically, it's gonna read from a file the token of your bot. For now, it's ported the database URL, database user, which is username, and database password. But we'll see that when the file will get created. Okay, so now I'll just start the bot. We don't call JDA builder anymore. JDA builder is not a thing anymore. So I've put easy commands. Basically, you just want to instantiate the easy commands class. And right here, as you can see, it wants a token. So what we're going to do is just config.get token, as you can see. So we're going to gather the token from the config file. Then right here, it asks us if we want to enable dev commands. We'll put it to true, all right, because we're going to start using dev commands also. And the music bot, let's just put it to true. For example, let's just add a music bot. All right, so when that is done, what you want to do is instantiate JDA. You can do it just like that. So JDA, call it JDA, equals easy commands dot add executor. So right here, you will be able to add your executors, and we'll also do register listeners. And then at the end of that, you can just say build JDA. Now that's gonna tell us another exception, which is the interrupt exception. And now we should be good to go. Now this bot should start technically, but we still haven't configured the config file. So let's just start the bot once, just to see what will happen. As you can see, it gave us a warning, launch stop. Config file was not found, so I created one. Now add your bot token to the config file. Example, token equals token. Let's see the config class for more settings. Okay, anyways, now let's just open the config file that has been generated over here. So basically, the token, as said, you just need to type in token equals, and then right here, just space your token. Now, I won't show this in video, but just space your token like, example like that. All right, so once it's done, once you've put the token inside the config file, you can start the bot now, and you should see now it should work. So it's enabled the music bot by default. Now we still have the alt command and stuff because I've used the same project as the old one, so they're going to stay registered for a little while. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As you can see right here, also it printed out the listeners on top, because that's the first thing that is going to print out is the listeners. Because we registered them before starting the bot, basically now. That's a new thing. So they're always going to be on top. As you can see right now, we've got none. No listeners, no executors. The only executors we have is the music bot executors, which are added by default. Okay, so what we're going to do now is right on top of that JDA, build JDA, basically, that build JDA line, we're just going to type easy commands, and it's going to be MySQL connect. And right here, it's going to ask for username, password, and URL. As you can see, in the config file, we can gather this also from the config. So the database URL, the database users, and database password. Right now, I won't have choice anyways to show you the token, but anyways. Right here, you can just type db URL equals db user equals and db password. All right, so those are the three other variables right now, three other configs that you can put. Okay, so for example, for the database URL, for now, we're just going to put localhost 3306 slash support. I'll call it support, but that's going to be your database name. So let's already go check this out. So in the description right here, you will have a link to the MySQL Workbench download, basically. And you will be able to just press on that little button right here, the MSI installer, or the MySQL installer for Windows. Yeah, you can install this one also. That's a recommended download, actually. Just go with this one. And just install the Workbench. So once the Workbench is installed, if I type in MySQL right here, as you can see, I add Workbench. So let's just execute that. Then right here, you will be able to create a local instance for your MySQL. So the host name will just be localhost the port 3306, username, just put root, for example, and a password. You'll be able to store in Vault a password. So then you can close that and open it. As you can see right here, we've got our database, basically. I've got Evolve database, let's close that. Those are all my localhost schemas, basically. So right here, as you can see, I've got the support database. So that's the one that we're going to use. So let's already create a table inside of it. Let's just call it tokens. That will be for later on in the video. Let's put a user ID. Let's put it tokens. So as you can see right now, right here, the data type, we can select, we'll put strings in it, so it's easier like that. So strings are going to be varchar. Let's put 255 for now. And that's going to be the primary key. It's non-null, and it must be unique. All right, all the entries must be unique. And for the tokens, the default, actually, that's not going to be varchar anymore. That's going to be an int for integer. It's going to be non-null, and the default expression is going to be at 0. All right. So when we apply, finish, as you can see, everything is working now. So if you have problems setting up MySQL Workbench, I highly consider go watch videos on the internet on how to do that. Because otherwise, I'm not going to explain to y'all everything about this. Because there's just too much things to explain about MySQL Workbench. And if you're having problems installing it, if you're having problems connecting to your localhost, always go check tutorials on YouTube about that. Because this video is not really about configuring MySQL. It's about using MySQL with Discord. I really believe you know it a bit. So right, as you can see right here, the database URL basically is going to be your localhost 3306 / and the slash is going to be your schema name right here. As you can see, I've got support. So that's basically what I've put it right here. And the database user, we remember it was root. And database password, for me, I've put test on my localhost. I believe while installing MySQL Workbench, they'll ask you to put in a database username and password. So that's basically what you want to put over here. So once that is done, you can come over here, do config.getDBURL. Right here, let's just do config.getDBuser. And for the password, it's going to be config.getDBpassword. All right. So now if I restart the bot, I go on top of everything. As you can see, it said, okay, database connection successful. If you have any problems with that, it's probably because your URL is wrong, or the username is wrong, or the password is wrong. But you're going to see the stack trace right here. It's going to get printed out on the print string. So you're going to see the stack trace right here. It's going to get printed out on the NDED console, basically. And it's going to tell you basically what went wrong. So that's pretty much it for the config. Now we can close that. We've got all the information inputted. So why did I do that? It's especially for videos. Now I have to reset my tokens every time because I have to show you my token every time I go inside of the main class. That's pretty useful for that. And also the other things that are useful is that you can share your code without worrying about showing your token. So for example, I can just copy this entire class, send this to someone, and you won't see my token. You will just see config.getToken, and inside the token and inside the config basically it's just reading a file. And the file you won't have the file. So that's great. Okay, so now let's go inside of commons. Let's create a new Java class. So let's just call it token command. Pretty easy. Let's instantiate it of command executor, and let's implement, override all the function that we will need. So we'll need the name, the description, we'll need the execute, and that's pretty much it. So press OK. Okay, so the name of the command is just going to be token. The description will be shows your amount of tokens, your token amount, whatever. I don't know. Okay, so right now, in the execute, that's where it gets a bit interesting in the execute function. That's where we can gather easyCommands.getConnection. So this is a static function. Why is that? It's because we want to access it from everywhere inside of project. We just want to be able to access our connection, MySQL connection, basically from everywhere. So by accessing this MySQL connection, as you can see, we can prepare statements and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool, accessing the connection from everywhere. But what I want y'all to do, for simplicity, is create a package, call it database. Inside that database, basically that database package, we're just going to say db commands. I'll just call it like that. And then you can create a public static, and we're going to return an integer. So we'll just set an int, and we'll just call it get tokens. And for now, let's just return null to remove this error. Actually, no, it won't work. Let's just return 0. All right. So this is where we're going to execute all of our database commands, basically. All in that class. So get tokens. We're going to get a token of a certain user. That's for sure. So we want to pass in a user inside of the get tokens function. And now let's get started. So first things first is I'm going to surround all of that inside of a try-catch block. A try-catch block will just be an SQL exception. And right here, we're just going to print the stack trace. Otherwise, what you can do is also use logger, not the Java util, actually, the trust and easy commands util. And then we're going to log a log type error. Let's just say, as the target parameter, let's just say e.get stack trace. And just erase the string, for sure. All right, so that's great. We're going to print out an error if we get an SQL exception from our logger class. So it will be better than just printing a stack trace. We will be able to get exactly what we want. We'll have an error log type error. So as those ones right here with well, basically all the information that we want to pass in, basically. So we get more description of what happened. Okay, so first thing you want to do inside of the try block is put a final string, and we're just going to make a query. So a MySQL query, just like that. So the query will be select star. So that means for select all, we're going to be able to put from tokens. Now let's go back over here inside of our tables. As you can see, I've called it tokens. So it's from tokens where user ID equals interrogation mark end. Well, no, that's pretty much it. Actually, there's no end. So we're going to select all from tokens where the user ID equals a certain user ID that we haven't specified. And now if you want to have the query statement checks, basically, you can just go inside of database right here on the right hand corner of IDA, click on plus, and if that doesn't show up, you can come over here and just say, you can go inside of view right here, tool windows, and click on database. Well, that will show up. You want to click plus, data source, find MySQL right here. Click on it. Now, as you can see, it's going to ask you the same information basically that you've inputted inside of MySQL Workbench. So you want to put the host to be localhost, the port 3306, the user, you want it to have the same user, the password is going to be the password that you inputted. Then click apply. Okay. That should connect you to your database. Just like that. It says no schemas detected, selected. So just click on 0 of 9 or 0 of whatever is going to the number you're going to have. Click on the one you want to access, which mine is support. We all remember that. Click on refresh. And as you can see, oh, it's selected. It will be for some reason. Anyways. And then support, we get tokens. We get our columns, which we have user ID and tokens. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we will have, we'll be able to write the queries correctly. So then you want to say a final prepare statement from Java SQL. Let's just call it PS. And that basically will equal easy commands dot get connection dot prepare statement. As you can see, IDEA just tells it for me. And in here, you just want to pass a query. Great. Right here, just click. If you get this little error, just say choose schema and select the good schema that you have. There you go. Now it fixes all the errors. And as you can see now, it tells me that this line of code should work. This should be a thing. It's going to gather the token from where the user ID, basically the user ID I'm going to specify. So how do we specify which user ID right here we want to put? You just want to do ps.setString 1, and basically the string 1 is going to be user.getID. There we go. So we're going to gather it from over there. And right here, you want to put a final result set. That would just be our result set. Will equal ps.execute query. Just like that. If result set dot next. So what does that mean? The result set is basically the result of the query that we just executed. So if it has next, so what does that mean? That means that it found someone with that user ID. And if it doesn't have next, for example, if I would have put that, that means that there's if this block basically get executed, that means that we didn't have any results. But for simplicity, we're just going to put if result dot next, and after that, we're just going to return that piece of code. And we're going to return, for now, let's just put 0 again. And otherwise, right here, we're going to be able to execute another statement. For example, if we didn't found the user, we're going to add him to the database. Okay, so right here, let's just create a string, tokens. No, actually, it's not a string. It's going to be an int, for integer, basically. It's going to be tokens equals result set.get int. And now right here, it wants an int for column index, or a string for the column label. So let's pass in this string. So the column label, if we go back inside of here, as you can see, the column name is tokens. Let's put in tokens. So we're going to get the int from the column label, from the column, basically, tokens. And now what I can do is return tokens. Just like that. So you could do that. Otherwise, you could just simplify this by doing it like that. There we go. So we'll just return the tokens, the amount of tokens for that specified user ID. Otherwise, if we didn't found anyone, so if it doesn't ask next, it's just going to skip that statement, and it's going to come down here, because it didn't return anything. As you can see, if when we return something, it ends up the code right there. So if we didn't found anyone, we're just going to copy this right here. This query string. Just put query cu, or create user, let's say. I don't know. And add, instead of using the select, we'll say insert into. Right here is going to be into tokens, to the token schema. And instead of from tokens where user ID, blah, 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 what we want to do is say user ID and tokens. That's what we want to insert in here. And then what you want to do is say space, values, and the values is just going to be 2 interrogation check marks. Why is that? It's because we've got only 2 options, basically, if we want to input 2 columns, which is user ID and tokens. So we're going to have user ID and tokens right here. So again, say final prepare statement, PS2, let's call it like that. It's going to be easy commands dot get connection dot prepare statement query cu. That's our new query. Let's say PS2 dot set string. So that's for the first parameter. So the string index, parameter index is going to be 1. And the string is going to be the user dot get ID dot to string. I believe. Oh, we don't need to do that. All right, great. So just get the user ID like that. Yeah, okay, it's because it's already a string. All right, great. Good to know. And PS2 dot set int for the parameter 2, which now is going to be token. We're going to put 0. Because you won't have any tokens. Or if you want to, you can put like a default value of 50. Let's do that. And then we can say PS2 dot execute. Great. So this now should work. The get tokens should work. But we're missing a thing. It's right here under the prepare statement. Let's just say int default tokens equals 50. And here, let's pass the default tokens. Under here, let's return the default tokens. So that will be basically the default tokens from the command that we're going to return. And otherwise, if we catch an exception right here, if something goes wrong inside of the code, basically we're going to return 0. We're going to return something like something went wrong basically inside of the code. So we've created our get tokens function now. Everything should work in here. We should all get everything basically from the database. Everything is just going to work. So let's go back inside of our token command. And inside of the execute function, what we want to do is pretty simple. Let's just get data.reply. Let's just put a message, and let's just put it ephemeral, and let's queue it. Okay. So the content of the message, basically, let's get the tokens also. Let's do int tokens equals, oh, now the problem is to get db commands dot get tokens, or data get command sender dot get user, just like that. So right here inside of the content of the message, basically we're going to reply. Let's just say data get command sender dot get as mentioned plus you have plus, let's say, tokens plus tokens dot. All right. So basically what happens in the reply, it's well, over here in the int tokens, we will gather the tokens from the certain user that we asked. Then we will reply, as mentioned, you have certain amount of tokens. And actually, I forgot something. We don't want to reply. We want to change that a bit. Let's just say defer reply and data.get hook send message. And basically the message is going to be all of that right here. And then we can queue all of this. Perfect. Okay, so that makes a bit more sense. So why am I using the defer reply right here? Actually, we should even use it on top right here. So the defer reply, what happens, it's going to let us up to more than 3 seconds to reply to the user. So for example, if your database call takes more than 3 seconds to execute, and you just put a reply, a simple reply statement, well, it's going to create some sort of error, all right, and your command won't work. But if you're using the defer reply, that can allow for more than 3 seconds basically of loading time. And then we get the hook and we send message. We send basically the command sender as mentioned. You have that amount of tokens. You can personalize this message how you want to. That's up to you. And now I can remove this. I don't know what. All right, great. So let's start a bot. Let's see what happens. That's the first test. Never expect the first test to work, but right now I'm expecting it to work because, yeah, I've got trust in it. So the command has been registered. As you can see now, everything should also work better. With this new main class, everything should just work better. All the commands should register way better. It could still happen that you need to restart twice, but yeah, that's going to happen pretty on occasions. If I go on the Discord server and I say /tokens, oh, it's actually /token, send it. Tristan, you have 50 tokens. Great, so that's exactly what I was expecting the bot to respond. If I go inside of the database now, you can see I've got tokens, and if you click on that little graph right here, wow, we've got our user ID and the amount of tokens. So for example, now if I want to put right here, let's just say we're going to put 2,500 tokens. All right, just press enter, press apply, finish. So now I've got technically 2,500 tokens. Let's try it out. Let's send token again. Wow, that's the first time I believe something works. In videos, usually there's always something that goes wrong, but no, that seems pretty accurate. All right, great. So everything works now, and yeah, that's exactly what I've wanted. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one. See ya.